Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining our session today, looking at Dynamics 365 Business Central Wave 2 release for 2025. Glad you're here. A couple housekeeping items. If you've got any questions during the session, feel free to use that Q&A pane. I've got it up here, so I should be able to see if there's any questions that are coming in. And then I believe you're going to get both a copy of this session as well as a survey. So we'd love to hear your feedback. Good, bad ideas that you have. We really want to hear from you. So if you've got anything you want to share, feedback you want to share, feel free to actually please complete that survey. So my name is Marcus Haug, and I'm a pre-sales architect here at Stoneridge. So it is great to be with you. We have 5 or 6 people on the pre-sales team, and I focus specifically on the Business Central product. So we are going to look at the 2025 Wave 2 release today. So let's dig in. We're going to have a lot of bullet points. I'm going to have some product for us to see as well, but let's dig into some feature functionality. So big push really across all the Dynamics products right now for Microsoft is Copilot and agents. So I wanted to talk about some of that functionality that's coming with Copilot and agents. And Autofill with Copilot is, you may have noticed it, but it's getting an update here in this version. And really what this allows you to do is if I'm creating a record, this could be both transactional as well as master records. You're going to know this little icon on a lot of the fields that are on the form. And really this is, suggestive value for the related fields within this fast tab. So what Copilot is going to do is it's going to give you suggested fields for everything in this section. So again, transaction as well as master record setup. So there's some enhancements that have been made to this. What you're going to see is I think it's actually a little better in terms of an autofill functionality that's coming there with that particular feature. All right, Payables agent. Payables agent. The agents are great. If you haven't looked at the agents, if you haven't looked at the possibility of what they can do, I got to open this up so I can show it to you. Take a look at this. And the Payables agent really is allowing you to do AP OCR, so optical character recognition, out of the box with Business Central. So sometimes we get asked about OCR, and you end up with a third-party product, et cetera. But we can do this right within Business Central. Couple things to note here. Most of the Copilot features that we're going to look at are included from a licensing perspective with Business Central. The 2 agents are not. So there is additional consumption licensing essentially for the agent. So both for the purchasing agent and the payables agent and the sales agent that we're going to look at a little bit later. They get connected to a Dataverse. We can help you walk through it. I think it's fractions of a penny. Don't hold me to that. Fractions of a penny per message. So there's several messages that happen on a given transaction. So in terms of overall cost, it's minimal on a transaction basis, but just note that that's there. Again, we can help you with pay as you go, or you can do a sort of a purchase block of messages. You got some options there. But anyway, just note that there's a cost to that. But what this allows you to do is to monitor an email box. The agent will then read that email, and it's going to take that vendor invoice, that's Payables agent, it's going to take that vendor invoice, and it's going to create a purchase invoice document inside of Business Central. So again, using OCR for that. The enhancements that are coming with this is really what they call contextual invoice drafts. And what that's going to do is basically allow the agent to learn. So not only is it looking at the document, it's looking at the history in the system to determine what should that document actually look like. So it's going to give you more accuracy around the OCR component with this draft. In January 2026, so just note that this is included as part of the wave release, but it's not actually going to be in the product until January, is purchase order matching. So right now with the payables agent, it's only has the ability to create a purchase invoice sort of standalone document. This purchase order matching then will allow you to do the purchase invoice document, but then pick up the PO transaction. So it's going to do the 3-way match functionality in January. But check it out. We are working with some of the clients that we have today, just sort of piloting this. It's really very inexpensive to try this out and see what it's like. So, contact our team. We can help you get it set up if you have questions and want to get it going. All right, enhancements to the sales order agent. So the sales order agent is right over here. It's that SO agent. In general, the sales order agent is then going to allow you to monitor an email box. It's going to look at sales information there. So it could create a sales quote. It could then respond to the sales quote via email as a quote acknowledgement to the customer, et cetera. That interaction is what that fundamentals of the sales order agent are. What we're going to be able to do, though, is enhancements to this. So attachment processing. So if the customer sends you an email that's got an attachment, we're going to be able to deal with that. Multiple ship-to addresses on the customer. Currently with the agent, it just is taking that default address. The multiple ship-tos is going to be able to decipher, hey, where do they want this thing shipped to? It's going to be able to look at capable to promise as part of the response. So if there isn't inventory available, when could it be available? We're going to be able to do some automatic email processing. A lot of the feedback I get with the current agent, and if you've looked at it, it's maybe a little click intensive. And what I mean by that is the agent is going to set up the sales quote. I've got to review it and then acknowledge it. And then I've got to review the email and acknowledge that. What they're setting up here is the ability to just streamline that. So maybe the first couple of emails you want to look at, and now I don't want to look at them. I'm trusting that the agent is working the way it should. I can just automate that. So just note that streamlined functionality is coming. Resume with user input. Again, sometimes there can be a delay, in the customer response and that sort of thing. It could pick up where it left off, which is really nice. If it's maybe hours or days that the customer finally gets back to you, you can continue really in that flow of that transaction. Create sales orders and skip the quote. So with the first view of the agent, you had to go through the quote process. What they're adding is functionality so that you don't need to do that. If you want to, maybe your process doesn't necessarily have quotes in it, fine. You don't need to use quotes anymore. You can go directly to a sales order. And then some customization functionality around the email response. So just allowing you to change that signature line a little bit better. All right, connecting AI agents, Business Central using the MCP server. So what this allows us to do from a development perspective is creating agents that can interact with Business Central directly. So in the previous version, you could create an agent, but it was really using the Business Central development toolkit to do that. With the MCP server, you're able to use, let's say, Copilot Studio to connect to Business Central. So it's making it more efficient to create agents. Advanced Tell Me search. I think everybody uses the search capabilities up here, the tell me what you want me to do. Microsoft continues to make enhancements here regarding how that search works. So I don't have some good examples of it right here, but what you'll see is that it's going to do more contextual searches. So, similar words and that sort of thing. So, if I call it client versus customer, there's going to be some understanding that those are really, terms that are synonymous with one another. So that's the type of thing you're going to get here with the search and the advanced search, which is really kind of nice. I don't need to know the exact term is really key there. Summarize with Copilot enhancements. So you're familiar if you've got the current version of the application. When you open up a record, you've got that summary, that Copilot summary that shows up. So if I open up a customer and then pull up a customer, you're going to get over on the fact box here that summary window. There's enhancements that are being made to this. You can go through the documentation in a little more detail to find out what it does, but it's searching more data essentially to provide the summary. So hopefully giving you more broad information regarding that transaction from a summary perspective. Use AI resources for your Copilot extension. So again, around the development side of things, you've got the ability to use AI in development processes. I'm not going to go into the development side of stuff, but there's some really nice enhancements if you want to create your own agents. Enhance Analyst, the Analyze Assist. If you use the Analyze mode within the application within Business Central, you know that if I go to Details, and let's see, I can go down here and I can go to analysis mode there. I don't know how many people use this analyze list with Copilot, but you're able to put in English terms for what type of search, for example, you want to create, or what type of analysis view you want to create. I think version 1, there were some mixed results in terms of what actually was created with that. You're going to see some nice enhancements there regarding the functionality that it now understands, I would say, correctly. All right. And I think we got a couple more here in the Copilot. Enhanced chat with the Copilot. So that's, on the base role center, the ability to use the chat window on that base role center. And if you're familiar with that, that's the Copilot functionality here. What you're going to see is enhancements there. So a lot like the summarization that's being done, this is including more data now to give you really a broader and maybe a more accurate response using that Copilot chat. All right, additional updates. So regional, country and regional updates, as I always say, I think the more people using Business Central, the better. So as Microsoft includes more countries, more regions with availability to Business Central, that just means there's more users. What we're seeing really is that as Business Central is a larger product for Microsoft, Microsoft is investing more in it. So I think a lot of that investment we're seeing around Copilot inside of Business Central is the direct result of the number of users in there. So the water level raises for everybody when we've got more users. So that's just good for all of us. In development, so from a development perspective, using autofill and summaries on custom objects. So what you'll notice is the ability with extensions that are in the system, and you'll see that with some of the off-the-shelf extensions that you might get. They include that autofill and the summary functionality on those custom forms. So like I just showed you on the summary on the customer record, that's going to be available. You can do it yourself with development, or app developers are going to incorporate that. And we're seeing that already, that a lot of the apps that we suggest that we work with on a regular basis are including that summary and the autofill on them. E-commerce, so Shopify integration enhancements. I'm going to opt not to go through the details of those. If you are using the Shopify integration, there's a lot of features that Microsoft continues to invest in this integration. So looking good, credits and all that sort of stuff is being added to that integration. Financial management updates. So there's some, just in the finance area, there's some updates that are being made. So creating multiple fixed assets card. This is really a feature that would allow you to, let's say, take in 8 assets, maybe 8 computers or something like that on the payables transaction. And what I want to do is actually create 8 individual assets instead of having them grouped. So that's what that functionality does. Printable audit trail report. So this is a new report that's been added around the audit stuff. So that's available. You'll see that. A new SEPA file format. So this is around the banking side of things. There's some updates there in terms of, I think there's some international banking changes that have taken place. So that's there. A new accounts payable role center. So I think the feedback in general has been that people aren't really sure exactly what to do with the role center completely. So Microsoft has added an accounts payable role center just so that you've got some more options in terms of what you can do with that role center. Just note that that can be personalized, it can be customized. New role centers can actually be created using the development toolkit. So if you want to do more with role centers in general, that absolutely is a possibility, and you're going to get sort of this, maybe get some ideas looking at this accounts payable role center. If you're not familiar with how to get to that, if you go in here to My Settings, under My Settings, there is a role. And then what you'll see is this accounts payable role center that will show up. So there's other ones that have been added sort of through the process, like subscription billing. When that was added, there's some subscription billing role centers that are here. If you look at the Copilot role centers, those have been added too. So each release has sort of added a few more role centers, and what you're going to see is just a more specific one for accounts payable now that that Microsoft has called out. All right, governance and administration. So in the admin center, there's automated environment management with Power Platform. So you can do administrative tasks using Power Platform from an admin perspective. So take a look at that if you are an individual that uses the admin center, and then you can cancel a running update Previous versions, when you started the update process, it sort of just had to run. If it was running a long time, or if you were, having problems or wanted just to cancel it, you couldn't do that. But now Microsoft is adding the ability to do that canceling. All right, additional updates around reporting and analysis. So top one, adding data fields to the report layout using the Word add-in. That should be Word, not Work add-in, Word add-in. So Microsoft Word, you can use those as templates on your report layouts. So primarily, I think where this is being used is, your quote, your sales order, your sales invoice, maybe your remittance advice. If you're doing a, EFT electronic payment and you want to do the remittance advice off the payment journal, that's probably where we're seeing the purchase orders, where we're seeing these Word layouts. Word layouts are actually available in more places than that. So if you want to use Microsoft Word to make reporting changes, you've got the ability here now to add data fields to the layout. Previously, you couldn't do that with the Word layout. So now this is some enhancements there. I know I did a blog and I did a video on using Word layouts. So search our website. I'm sure they're going to be out there if you want to check out what that looks like. Deferral reporting enhancements. So this is, if you're familiar with the expense and the revenue deferral, that deferral code, Microsoft has, I would say, finally added some reporting around that. So hopefully enhance that. There are some enhancements to the financial reports. I think they're kind of minor. I didn't call out anything specific, but if you go into the financial reports, the windows, there's some additional features that are available with the financial reporting. Let's see, Power BI reporting enhancements. So previously with Power BI reports were available from Microsoft for Business Central. So if you haven't gotten those, if you have an existing installation of Business Central, you've got to go out to the App Store and download them. I think you still have to do that. They've talked about auto generating those or auto downloading them. I think they've kind of backed off that. So you're gonna have to go find them, but they're not hard to find, but you can get them, download them. They will connect to your Business Central system. So that's been great. Now what we've got is this open source Power BI apps. So all of these apps allow you to make further enhancements to them, changes and modifications than what we had before. So that's pretty good. Drill back and then dynamic dimension names. So if you downloaded those reports, you'll notice that sometimes the dimensions were really just like shortcut dimension 1, 2, 3, 4. They didn't actually have the descriptors, what you're calling those shortcut dimensions. That's been added. And then I think a key thing here is drill back functionality. So with the Power BI reports now, the transaction details, when you get to the detail, you can actually drill back into Business Central with those. So nice features there. On the inventory app, I should say on the apps themselves. So there's finance, sales, purchasing, inventory, manufacturing, projects. Might be this 6. There might be another one there in inventory. Inventory valuation, I think, is another one. So maybe 7 apps. So they're sort of functionally spread out. So when I say the inventory Power BI app, that's really that inventory app from a Power BI perspective. So they're adding the forecast future inventory flows to this. So common request we've got from clients, how do I get that forecast information, or do we have that added to that Power BI app? So look at that inventory Power BI app. It's going to be there. Some broad updates here to the project app. And really what it's doing is it's adding more tabs and more functionality to the projects app. So if you're using projects, old jobs module, take a look at that. Project profitability, all that sort of stuff is in there. Finance app is now going to include cash flow data. So that's a nice enhancement around the finance app itself. And then again, just the dimension name should be spelled out a little bit better there. Manufacturing app updates. You're going to see really some statistical stuff. So analyzing production orders and that sort of thing has been added to the manufacturing app. And then miscellaneous updates to the sales app and to the purchasing app. So you'll just see some additional tabs that have been built out, some new visuals in both of those apps. So if you haven't looked at them, I encourage you to check it out, download them, look at them. There is some setup that happens inside of Business Central connecting to the app. So there's some work that needs to be done to make those connections work. It's not difficult, but just note that there's some work that has to be done to make that work. All right, and then quality management extension. So this was part of the Wave release. but it's not actually going to be released until December. So what we've got is the ability to look at quality. We haven't seen a lot of details about how this this quality extension is going to work, or the functionality is going to work, but it's going to look at purchase receipts, or the ability to look at purchase receipts output for both production and assembly. So if you are doing assemblies, you're going to be included as part of that part of the quality piece, and then the ability to do manual and scheduled checks. So you know, we're looking for some more details on it, but I think it's going to give some organizations the functionality that they need if you're maybe on the more basic side of quality management. So we have other quality extensions that we've worked with our clients. Yavion as well as InsightWorks both have a quality module. So if you need more functionality, we certainly can help you with that. But I think this is going to work for some of those that maybe those apps were more than they wanted. So this is going to be some good functionality. It says it's going to have quarantine ability. It's going to be able to generate certificates of analysis as well. Question that I got was Power BI licensing. So I would say maybe. So you've got the ability to run Power BI reports with that free Power BI license, sort of limits some sharing capabilities. You may have licensing available with your Office license that would be what you need to do Power BI. I would say give us a call. Ridwan on our team does some licensing assessments. Missy does some licensing assessments. They can work with you to figure out, do you have what you need? And then really here are the types of licenses that you could buy for Power BI to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So you don't necessarily need to buy licenses. It's sort of a maybe that you might need to get them. So give us a call and we can help you through that. All right. And then subcontracting capabilities with production. So this has been a request for years from clients of ours. They want more capabilities around sort of managing that subcontracting process. You know, if you're using that right now, you know, you can set up a work center as a subcontracting location and it becomes part of the routing. This is going to be some more functionality around managing that that process. So not a lot of details at this point, but at least some of the previews that I've seen, I think those are going to be some nice features that people have been asking for. All right, and then sustainability. So if you know, if you're just in the U.S., you probably haven't had to deal with this yet. Our clients that are in the EU, you know, sustainability is more important. So what does that mean? You know, really dealing with carbon emissions and that sort of stuff regarding the transactions that you're processing. So what you'll notice is there are fields and there's functionality around sustainability management that are in the application. So as you start seeing those, that's what it's related to. Again, I don't know that we have a lot of requirements in the US yet around that, but certainly in the EU that they do. So if you've got operations in the EU, check out the functionality there. I'm not an expert in this area, but the presentations that I've seen on it, there's a lot of functionality that's been added to help manage this, the reporting and regulatory requirements around sustainability. I don't know if there's other areas that are as requirement heavy as the EU at this point, but actually I think South America has some requirements too. But anyway, if you need those, I would say check out what's available for sustainability inside of Business Central and then see what you maybe would need to add for reporting. But a lot of the management additions that have been added is around the reporting capabilities. So hopefully it is, hopefully that'll help you out. All right. Couple things to remember. That's sort of our overview of the enhancements that have been made. A couple things to remember. Please remember to test new features in a sandbox. So the updated version has been available for a while. You can create a sandbox using the new version. You can test those features, et cetera, in a sandbox environment. Remember to test your upgrade in a sandbox environment as well. So take a look at those new features. You know, can't say it enough, use a sandbox first. Next thing is feature management. You may need to turn features on. So there is a setup functionality when you go into Business Central. So even though you've done the upgrade and you say, well, I don't see those features, you may need to turn them on. So feature management allows you to turn features on and off. When you create a new version of the product, so when you download the current version of the application, let's say into a sandbox and it's empty, by default, a lot of features are turned on automatically. That's not the case with the upgrade. So with the upgrade, Microsoft makes those features available, but they're not turned on. Okay, so just note that you're going to have sort of this different experience on a new, fresh environment that you create versus an upgrade. So go to feature management, look at that. There are features that you can just enable. There are features, just like we've had, in the last several updates, that require a database update. So you have to run that update process. So you may need to deal with some timing on that. So just note that feature management is there. Extension management. So two things to call out specifically on that. One is quality, and number two is the Power BI reports. So quality, when you create a new environment, new deployment, quality is going to be enabled. When you do an upgrade, quality is not automatically going to be installed. Okay, so you're going to have to go to extension management. It's an extension provided by Microsoft that's going to be the quality component. So that's how they're rolling this out. I would anticipate new functionality that Microsoft adds is going to be deployed this way more often. Okay, so you're just going to have to go out to the extension management, download the quality extension to add it to your system. Okay, so a little bit of difference there. Power BI reports is the same thing. I'm sort of hedging on that Power BI reports. There was some discussion about auto deploying those at one point, and then I think Microsoft kind of backed off of that because they don't want to sort of push things out and then disturb what you have. So you may not get the update. You may have to manually update those, but just note that that's there. Copilot and agent capabilities. You may need to enable these as well. And I also just note that you can disable them. So if for some reason you don't want people using the Copilot, agents also requires you assign security to that user. So by default, even if the agent is enabled, not everybody's going to go in and be able to run it. You have to have permissions assigned to it. But there may be some work or some configuration that you need to do around the Copilot and agents. If you just search Copilot, you can see there's a setup page there that will allow you to enable, disable those Copilot features as well as the agent capabilities. Again, on the agents, you still have to explicitly grant permissions to a user for the agent functionality. So I don't know, let's say a Payables agent, if everybody would need access to that. I think you'd probably have a fairly limited group with access to that, so you can manage it that way too. I also say that the agents, you can try them out. So it's not costly to get some Copilot licenses and test it out, try it out. We've got clients that are doing that now. So if you need help, give us a call. We can help you get that set up in your environment. At least take advantage of the stuff that is within the application. So, all right, that is our overview highlights for Wave release. If you've got any questions, you want some help with anything, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help. Again, feel free to, or actually please fill out the survey at the end of the session today. We'd really love to hear from you. And then you will also get a copy of the presentation. So appreciate your time today and have a great afternoon.